Hi, I'm Brendan Fehr.
And I'm Majandra Delfino. A decade or two ago,
Closer to 3, really.
a while back, we starred in the cult hit WB show Roswell.
And while we are in fact ex-co-stars, we are also actual exes. In real life.
Boyfriend and girlfriend exes.
Unnecessary clarification. But welcome to the X-Files, where we analyze all things Roswell. Episodes, co-stars, guest stars, and all the goings-on in front of the camera and behind the scenes.
In our probe, we may or may not agree, we may or may not get along, but if our history is any indication, we will most certainly dig up old stuff from the past and throw down. With guests, old and new, weighing in on who was right and who was wrong.
Oh, if we remember it, we're going to talk about it.
And if we don't remember, it's all good, because I kept my teenage diary to cross-reference, corroborate, confirm.
Wait, what?
Correct. So be prepared to pick a side.
Your actual diary, like, for real.
Having a change of heart?
More like a change of underwear.
Welcome
to the X-Files.
So that's the end of it. This is the last podcast.
Is that our new name?
That's the end of it? Wait.
The last podcast. Anyway, go
this
ahead.
is because, yeah.
What's
Can't
are you
fucking
finally
do it anymore.
You're realizing that this diary is very incriminating?
No, I've lost the other great book. I have lost Crash Into Me, The World of Roswell by Robin Burnett. So I can't continue. I know.
This book?
So I'm out.
Wow.
I'm not
You
doing it
lost
anymore.
it.
It's impossible to have lost because I keep it here. I don't move it anywhere else.
Yeah, this feels like maybe I went in and stole it because I'd like this to end.
You text one of my kids and you're like, hey, could you grab your dad's there's a book. Very
Totally.
important. So this is the final one. I hope everyone enjoyed our first dozen episodes or so. But yeah, I guess we're going out. Our finale is the season premiere of season 2.
See, if this isn't just a perfect indication of just what a little brat, just a full meltdown.
You really wanted to say little bitch, didn't you?
No.
Oh, you
I honestly was worried little brat was too harsh. And it could be because I'm just feeling very sensitive.
Why are you feeling sensitive?
Because I'm really uncomfortable with my journal, my diary for this episode. It's
okay.
I love that you're titillated.
Maybe
like such
we
a
will.
Dude.
Maybe we will continue this podcast.
No, I'm not uncomfortable in that way.
She says.
No, I was actually coming on to say the same thing. I'm out. No.
We're both out.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I almost went with the. Right now, Brendan is drinking from his Roswell mug. I'm drinking from the B&T. Mm-hmm. Are these still available?
They are still available.
Still available.
Yeah, Dan at baronandtoluca.com. Get yours while you can. So I have lost the book.
I know. Okay. Well, here.
I know it is episode 1 of season 2.
You really are flustered without this book, Brendan.
I don't know. I don't even know how to hold my hands. I don't even know what to do with my hands.
All right. Well,
okay.
I
So
do
break it down for us.
I'm so sorry. Okay. So this is season 2, episode 1. Original air date October 2nd in the year 2000. Written by Jason Katims and directed by James A. Contner.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah, I remember oh, geez, I dropped my pen. I remember James.
Oh, is that, by the way, this is foreshadowing.
It is. Oh.
Guest cast.
Unknowingly?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
You know, I am a psychic. I was trying to say psychic in a
no, and then you're like,
way. Anyway, David
like,
Conrad
wait, what are we?
Was Nacedo. Oh my gosh, there's so many people in this guest cast. Okay, I'm going to pretend I lost the book right now, too.
No, let's read them because I want names.
Brendan, there's never been this many.
I know,
This is like
but there's some important people in
David
this.
Conrad, Nacedo, Agent Pierce.
David Conrad is Agent Pierce. Nacedo is Jim Ortlieb.
Jim Ortlieb is Nacedo. He's in the book fucking gone. Do you see this? Do you hear this? Jim Ortlieb is Nacedo Ed Harding. Gretchen Egolf.
Gretchen was her name. She was the congresswoman, right? Whitaker?
Egolf? Egolf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congresswoman Vanessa Whitaker.
Okay.
Jeremy Davidson. Sorry. As Grant Sorensen. Jason Peck. Jason Peck is Deputy Hansen. Okay, then Sarah Downing. Courtney. Austin Teichner. Dr. Bender. I mean, it keeps going. Phil Abrams, Max's therapist.
Okay, Phil Abrams was okay. Yeah.
Man. You know what? It's actually good that I'm reading this whole thing. Dennis Lipscomb. I'm so sorry.
I can't do anything for you. I'm sorry.
Will you pronounce this? L-I-P...
Right? Lipscomb? Maybe? Let me guess. Lipscomb?
Yep.
Yeah,
it's funny how I pronounced it totally incorrectly, but you knew what I was trying to say. I'm going to take that again. Dennis Lipscomb. It's so much worse.
We're awful people. We're definitely going to hell.
We're 2 years old. We're not laughing at his name. It's just...
It's a very common name. I've just never... you fucked me up with the way you read it at first. The whole...
No, and then the way I read it the second time was worse. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Dennis. Fuck. If there's ever a time I wish you had this book, it's right now. I'm like, take it away. Dennis Lipscomb. Okay. It was John Shanahan.
Who was John Shanahan? Oh, the senator, I think, breaking down Agent Pierce, right? Like the old...
I thought it was the scientist, because the next person here is Kenneth Joy, engineer number 2.
Kenny Choi.
That's so tough. There's no engineer number 1.
They don't even give him number 1. They're
exactly.
like,
they're like,
sorry, Kenneth. You're out.
It's against SAG rules. Bill Glass was Mitch, the crash-down tourist, and Daniel Fester was the security guard.
Okay,
here's the logline. A geologist discovers Agent Pierce's bones out in the desert. Congresswoman Whitaker, I can't see through my tears. Congresswoman Whitaker investigates the strange skeleton, causing the team to band together to fix the problem. It seems a dangerous new alien group has arrived in Roswell. ... Yeah, and Robin Burnett had some things to say about this episode, but we'll get into that.
Okay. Any thoughts?
Of course, immediately my first note is like, don't forget to look this up. Didn't. I wrote great recap a la Scrubs. On the beginning of the Scrubs song, they're like, a scrub is a guy who thinks he's fly, otherwise known as a busta or something. They just like give you a quick little synopsis before they kick the song off that is actually part of the song.
Right.
Which always just gives me such a tickle.
Okay.
And this is what this felt like. I feel it was a great recap for the time.
Yeah, I watching it, I went, okay, we're recapping here. And I don't think that was... I mean, they can't possibly have thought that the audience that had watched season 1 was really thinking that Jason was pouring his soul out to this therapist and outing us all.
True. I see what you mean.
So that's where I thought it was, it could have, was there a different way? I don't know. I hate pointing out a problem and not having a possible solution to it. But that's where I went,
well,
it just
I have a
feels like we
solution.
know we know this is a recap. But I don't know. I was on the fence about that, just in terms of trying to come up with a different way of doing that. The recap was good. I mean, it recapped, if people hadn't watched the show or seen it, that was back in the day where you missed your 9 months of the show,
Good
right? You
point.
missed your 22 episodes. You couldn't go back and binge watch it or queue it up on your computer. If you didn't tape it, you were fucked.
Right. Yeah,
And
unless you
so
were fancy
a
and had TV.
recap back in those days was more necessary. Like if someone did want to catch up, you couldn't, I think that's why shows back then that's where procedurals really were important, is because you could have your ongoing storylines, but because people couldn't binge watch and pull it up on their computer, you needed a start and a finish.
Right.
Or else people, if they missed an episode or two and they lost this, and the storyline was gone, like something on Lost, which I never watched, but I assume you kind of needed to watch that every week, or at least catch up, or else you had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Or else you were lost.
So I don't know. So maybe looking back 25 years, that was a really important thing to do. But I was on the fence about that. Anyways,
I did write Max. Like, it really struck me like what a little boy Jason was at the time, because he was, just a little bit older than me, but enough where he felt much more adult and he had his shit together. So there was like a maturity there. And this was the first time we were watching him. I was like, oh, like he's just a little boy in this awful predicament.
Well, in the beginning, and then he kind of turns, which he does.
I just mean literally his face, where I was like, oh,
yeah. In the recap too, what I learned, because we're always learning.
We don't fail, we learn.
Is like already, and we had talked about this on the Frakes episode, how many people knew how quickly, but Valenti was already an ally, like at the end of season 1. Like we didn't even get a season out of that guy chasing us down. Like that's not good.
Yeah, I know, but he's so good.
He's so good.
It's so nice to see him getting to be multifaceted, to have these layers instead of just like bad guy after the teens, to have him covering up and sort of having to ride the wave of. Yeah,
I have notes on that, and I loved my scenes with him and everything else. And everyone is always so good in scenes with him because he makes them better. But I just kind of went, "Oh shit, really? He's already an ally?" Like I thought that was season 1 or something, but no.
It's funny. I was relieved,
2, I mean.
But I know what you mean. Yeah, as far as pushing story, it makes it a little more convenient. But I was relieved for the teens, for us. I did write extensions, leather. Sexed us up, and then I wrote nappy hair, because that's when that mean website said that I had nappy Latina hair.
It was so not even close to nappy though.
Well, they were extensions, and they were kind of a different time, so they were kind of not the most conditioned. But
whatever. I thought you looked great. But I always say that. Max does say, we killed a guy in the recap. And I was like,
taking credit for it already, buddy.
Then, you know what? I was just like, let me have my murder, please.
Classic Max.
I mean, always trying to, even steals my murders, right?
Yeah.
Trying to, the king, the supposed king, always just trying to, little bit of this, little bit of that. Always kind of taxing my shit.
A classic royal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I liked that they talked about in the congressional subcommittee inquiry, the non-human, that they, this thing that is very popular now where it's like the non-human. By the way, this was another thing that I wrote. Look this up. Didn't do it.
I wanted to look up Courtney's first episode, and I didn't do it because this is definitely not it. And I was like, when the fuck does Courtney come in?
This is a tough one. I believe this is her first episode.
Wait.
According to Robin Burnett, I know, because I was like, that is so clever that they just like slipped her in and didn't say anything. And
a new waitress that's just... You see her
Yes.
passing in the Crashdown uniform, and I was just like, oh shit, Courtney's in this. But nothing really happens, and then she comes out she doesn't do anything in the fucking episode, and then comes out, except smiles, and then comes out at the very end and says, hey, she's
Yeah.
that was genius. That's the way to do something. Like, who the fuck is this? So
Yep.
if this is her first episode, that's an all-timer of an entrance, because it's not an entrance.
Well, I'm going to say it is an all-timer probably from the time, but now you'd be like, who's this person? And like, ooh, they're trying to just slip her in. Like, what do they have up their sleeve?
I
would have brought her in like in a loosey-goosey kind of way before, and then you just think like, oh, we're sleeping on her. I don't know.
Well, no, because it's only at the end, because it could just be an extra in the beginning, right?
Well, I go away, Courtney, or something. It was such like girl on girl hate. It was
right,
wild.
yeah.
But in the beginning, I'm like, go away, Courtney, shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, truly.
I pay
and
for
then
that on my Duck Go. It's Duck Go, by the way, not Go Duck Go.
Well, don't worry, I'm good. Yeah, I think this is when she first, because I went in, Brendan, I was like, I got to understand this more because I haven't lost the book. Crash Into Me, The World of Roswell.
Yeah, I was going to look up and just never.
No, well, I did. I took the time to be like, what is happening? And was like, oh,
look at who's
know.
growing.
I know. Well, at least I'm not going backwards, you know? Now, here's what's very interesting. I was 19. You were 32. You were 22.
No.
Well, I was definitely 19.
Oh, I was almost 23 because I would turn 23 in 2017.
On the 29th, of October, but this aired October 2nd.
Yeah.
So you were shooting it, let's say August, September?
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
earlier beginning of August, yeah.
Well,
it's the premiere. We're definitely in August.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what's wild is, I mean, there is an entire summer of diary entries, the summer leading up to this premiere, that is so troublesome.
Oh, no.
It's so bad, Brendan.
On whose behalf? Like what?
I would say we had some seasons. You and I had spring, winter, fall.
Yeah.
Multiple in the relationship. And this was a bad season. I think it gets worse, but it just was one of those where reading it as your friend now, it made me so fucking uncomfortable with just the entry after entry after entry of just being so upset with you.
Well,
can this guy get a break?
This was, well, maybe I didn't deserve one. I don't know. But I knew Sarah briefly because that summer I had shot The Forsaken.
Yes.
And you came down to set.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You came down to set. But Sarah was on The Forsaken. She played the receptionist at the place Kerr worked at. I think she had one or two scenes. I didn't work with her, but I met her briefly there while she was down. We shot at Yuma, Arizona. So I knew her then. And then when she showed up on set, was familiar with her. But I did not know this was her first episode. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember vaguely having a strange something happen prior to going to visit you in Yuma.
Okay.
Yuma? Is that how we say it?
It's Yuma.
Yuma? Oh my goodness. My God. And totally don't remember specifics. I just remember it being like fraught And then this thing,
See, I thought we were kind of having troubles, and then you came down, and we were trying to fix it.
Okay, so June 17th, 2000. So Brendan has come back again to me. Oh, it's so embarrassing. He has begged me to be his again. I'm sure you begged. He came into town and he said that he missed me, that he missed dating me, and that he realized that we could have worked out, that he could have put in more of an effort, and that he wants to let me in. Oh, cheesy.
That's probably what I said, though, which is, as if it's, I don't know if it's cheesy to read or write, then it's cheesy to say, but
well,
I could see that.
But this is my favorite. It's like, that was in June. You called in May 31st.
March, April, May, June. Okay. Well,
yeah.
That's...
And so this is what you did that got me back in, quote unquote. It says, Brennan just left a message on my cell phone, on my Nokia, saying that he had just seen me in teen style and that I looked hot.
Yeah.
We gotta find that picture. And that he just wanted to see how I was. And I called him back and he was watching Scream 3. So this is your on set.
Why am I on set?
That's a great question.
I don't think I could watch Scream 3 on set.
No, you're in Yuma.
I am
so
in Yuma?
insecure
Why are you pronouncing
it
like that, you weirdo?
I'm thinking about Uma Thurman. Okay, that I was hot and that he just wanted to see how I was. And I called him back and he was watching Scream 3, I know. And he went to switch phones and I heard a girl's voice all frustrated that he was going to the other room. He switched phones.
I know who that is.
He switched phones and was like, no, I'll be really quick, and gets on the phone with me. I asked him who it was and he said, Isabella. I was just like, okay.
Oh, well, okay, then I didn't know who it was.
Oh God, there's another time.
Yeah, then it was Isabella. If that's
well, I'm going to let you go because it's a bit later where I am. So have a good night. And he's like, oh, so you're letting me go? We're getting off now. And I'm like, well, I need to go to sleep. It's a classic. So he talks some more bullshit, blah, blah. Then he's like, are you going to visit me? And by the way, he kept mentioning how bored he was. And I replied to him, Brendan, I swear, you never cease to amaze me. And he's like, why? Why? And jokingly, I said, oh, your eyes, your voice, your hands, your hair, you just... And then, like, I was so in awe of him. And then I write in parentheses, sarcasm. So then he's like, I'll pay. Just come for a day. And I was like, I'm sorry, I have work and shit to do. And he's like, come on. And I said, Brendan, well, I'm not saying yes or no. We'll see. And like the asshole flirt that he is, he replied, okay, then I'll take it as a yes. I just replied with an exhausted sigh. I love that I'm so tired. Then this is the wild thing. So I cried last night to the point of a headache. This is from that call.
This is the same like day?
Yeah, that night. Like I cry after this conversation. And I call my mom. I think I'm in Miami because it's just not making any sense. I call my mom and she told me that he's an asshole and that it obviously
Mary.
My mom was always like, ugh. That he's an asshole and that it obviously means so much to him that I know that he's with a girl and he's trying to rub it in my face. I think he was trying to make the girl
you called me.
No, you called me to tell me that I looked hot in whatever.
Oh.
I think he was trying to make the girl in the room jealous at my poor heart's expense. Why must he torment me? I was doing just fine not thinking about him.
Well.
And then immediately just in the next page, I'm like, I love Paul Sugarman, which is my best friend.
We all do.
And then that's when you fast forward to June 17th. You've come again. You're going to put more effort in. This was after the weird booty call from Scream 3 in front of Isabella Miko. Right? Although you were like, I know.
Yeah, you were like, no, that's who it would be for sure.
Oh, because you're like, I think I know who it is. And then you're like, oh no, then it must have been her. So that's
because my sister came to visit me. Ange came to visit me.
This is exactly what happens. This is what devolves in this diary, is that you go, I go and I visit you, everything's fine. You come back, we hang out. I don't know why you came back.
No, I don't believe I I don't believe I ever left because me and my sister flew in and then we drove my truck back together.
Well, according to this, remember when Paul, did something to that, I don't know what we call it, like a rent-a-cop? Is that a terrible thing to say?
Security guard?
Well, it was like in my parents' neighborhood, and my sister was having a party, and the guy was like, "I'll arrest you," and whipped out the baton, and I was like, "You're a little piece of shit!" You pissed your pants. Then you and I apparently, you were there. We hung out. I think we went to Disney World, Disneyland. We had a whole thing, and then 3 days later, according to this, you were like, "I don't really know who you are," to me, and broke it off.
Wow.
And this goes on for days. It's just
it was a rough patch for sure. That all makes sense. It all, I guess, checks. Yeah.
I know, but isn't it just so up and down?
That's how
within
it was,
a month?
Though. Yeah. Because I don't think we left season 1 on good terms.
No, but everything's back together and peachy keen. I go to Yuma, I visit you, everything's great. And then we have you come back, I guess, to get Andrew. I don't know what happens.
But it's not great when I'm in Yuma because I'm asking for you to be back with me.
Right, but we get back together.
Yeah.
And then the fight happens with the security guy. And then 3 days apparently go by. And you call and you're like, "I can't be with a girl that flies off the handle."
That's, you know what, though? That makes 100. Yes, I don't remember saying that, but that 100% checks.
In the moment, you're there and you're laughing, you're seemingly fine. And then 3 days go by. There's no mention of it. We're constantly together. We go to Disneyland. And then you take this drive to Arizona and just get there and cut it off. And I'm devastated.
Oh, jeez.
I know. The way that you get me back while you're in Forsaken, you send me $300 worth of flowers.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then this incident with the police officer, which is very nice of me to say. I remember him so well. He took the baton out. Do you remember that? And it wouldn't come out. So this police officer incident, I'm so mad that 3 days went by that you didn't care, and then suddenly you cared. You then call from Yuma. I'm like, 3 days, 3 days. I mean, it's just the funniest thing. 1 minute, you're fine. And then 1 minute, you're pissed. You cuddle me and giggle with me. Just a little giggler. Anyway. And then you're like, and then now you realize I'm, quote, not a nice person, unquote. So anyway, what's great is too, then
I'm telling you, I'm sticking by my story that security guard thing did not sit well with me, even if I didn't say something.
Yeah,
and that's where I turn.
Yeah.
And that's where I just go I can't have someone who treats people like this.
Which is so funny because I was standing up for him for being so shitty to my friend. But
yeah, no,
also,
I know.
He's not a police officer. He was a rich kid that was working in the security.
I know this almost in my heart of hearts. That's what set it off.
Yeah, it set it off and somehow just completely obliterated everything before. Well, it somehow just all got wrapped up in that one thing. But then what's so crazy is September 1st, 2000.
Okay.
And we're back
together. The show hasn't aired yet.
No.
We're back together?
We're back together.
Of course we are, because we're going on, because the way it goes.
I mean, I don't even know what follows this, but...
Is it that... but I'm just asking myself. I mean, it's our unique experience, but is it that unusual in the lives of a teenager, their true first love?
Well, it's so funny because I actually think that's where people got you wrong, is that these things on paper, all those things seem like there's certain kind of actor... young men that are pulling the wool over people's eyes, and they're just actual cheaters.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I think people really thought, we might be dealing with one of those.
But I don't think they had any reason, other than me not doing it though, but at the time, if you don't know me well, if you're not in my close group, like I would have said the same thing about me, probably going like, dude, this guy's bad. And I've said it like, this guy's bad news. I've said that about myself.
You're like, I say to myself.
I say it to myself all the time.
It's your pump up.
Totally. It's just before I'm about to
Who's
curl
bad news?
20 pounds, I'm like, this guy's bad news.
That's how you got the hole in your hand. But yeah, that's what's so funny is that I think ironically, those very people, aka Mary Hellman, thought the wrong thing and realized that now. And that's, why everyone's just bringing you back into their loving arms. Because
I wasn't an asshole.
Exactly.
I wasn't, not saying I wasn't an asshole, but I wasn't that kind of asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
for sure. All right. Well, should we get on to the episode?
Isn't it wild? Like, that was a summer. I was like, turning the pages, just so flabbergasted.
Because and this
Brendan,
is the thing,
I didn't even read like half of the stuff. It is. Anyway, go ahead. It was so uncomfortable to read.
But it's the first time. But you got to understand too. The pilot, we had a couple months in between, but we didn't like each other. That wasn't a thing. So during the season 1, when we're together, we are together 24/7. Not even if we want to be, but because we're just working together, right? You're on set, we're working all these hours,
right?
And so every problem, every good thing and every bad thing, we're sharing. And you could talk it through, and you could do this, and you could do that. And so then summertime is a break from all that. So all of a sudden, we're not spending necessarily maybe that time together. We're doing our own shit. I go do a movie, you go to Miami, and we're apart. And then we don't.
And then someone sees,
it's not a healthy enough relationship at this point, or it's not whatever else where you
saw Teen, whatever. Teen magazine.
Was it Teen though? Because I remember your FHM was
Excuse me. No, this was like
you. Okay.
It's very sweet that this is what you saw, and you're like, Bauga. I mean,
speaking of Bauga and short skirts.
Oh.
This skirt you're wearing in Skin and Bones on the couch when you guys are sitting there?
Yeah.
It is so short.
Is it though? I got a very, very small torso.
Yeah.
Still a lot of room up that skirt until you get to anything.
I don't think so. It was, where's my notes?
I wasn't worried once that you were going to see something.
I was worried for you.
Yeah.
Why did I write my notes like this? Okay. Skin and Bones, moving on.
Yeah. I love that Liz went to her aunt in Florida. That's never good.
No, she's definitely coming back a different person.
I'm trying to say something that I will not say, but yeah, that's where you get a piercing.
The fact that Grant Sorensen can't read a Thomas guide at this point in life. He walks into a random diner and asks the people where the local sheriff is. How many people has he passed on the way into this diner? Like, and now, he didn't see Katie because Katie had his back to him. So it's not like he saw a hot girl first, right? Because he's got to he's got to walk down the street. He's got to park his car. He's got to do his thing. Just what is? It just seemed. I just went get a Thomas guide, dude. It's A3 on the grid. You're good.
I just wrote hello, Grant.
He was handsome.
He was so handsome.
He was the truest first man guest star that I remember. Where I went, oh shit! He was Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones to me.
Yeah,
maybe the geologist throws maybe that is thrown in the mix subconsciously.
Yeah, at one point in one of my notes I wrote where is this note? But it was basically like, is a dirty guy the equivalent of a clean girl is a sexy girl? Like a dusty guy is a sexy guy.
And he was good actor. Like did his thing. Like he was great.
It's funny because in the diary of the meltdown about you, I'm like, I should like something about just like an older, more mature man. Wonder if it had something to do with Grant, you know?
Maybe.
I mean, he seemed
piqued your interest.
So much older. But by the way,
yeah, he did.
You know, it doesn't surprise me that he wasn't that intelligent.
Katie has grown, and especially with what they make her wear, all of a sudden, like she's even more. Like I don't think she's grown physically. I mean, she clearly has. It's been a year, but
oh boy.
No. I'm just saying, like in like the leather skirt and the tank top and the high heels. Like all of a sudden, you just go like, "Oh shit!" Like you're a woman.
Yeah, you are a woman. You woman. Yeah,
the tension. Oh, go ahead.
No, but she's still. I mean, one lay of the finger on her, and this man is in jail. Like he seemed way old.
Yes, but she is over 18 at this point because we're season 2. She is 3 years older than Max, and we graduate in season 3, so that's 18. So Katie is 21, so here she's 20.
She's out of high school?
She should be if she's 3 years older than Max. That's where I'm not. We got to figure out this timeline. Because when does she stop going to Roswell
According to
High?
Crash Into Me, the World of Roswell, Robin Burnett does say that that is statutory rape. Which
I love how we have Robin Burnett having all our backs. But then that doesn't track, man, with the timeline.
Oh, it says the season premiere introduces some new elements. First is Sorensen, a potential love interest for Isabel, who would immediately be arrested for statutory rape if he even touched her. By the way,
I don't know if that's true, though.
I found the Congresswoman gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, loved her.
A really, I don't want to say this that way. That doesn't sound good.
Oh, God.
Well, no,
I like when you do that and you don't say because it really
I was going to compare her to someone else and say like a good-looking version of that person.
My goodness.
It's her eyes. She's got those you know what she does have?
My favorite kind of eyes, yeah.
The Sydney Sweeney eyes, like very sleepy a little bit. Like you can see like the half lid even though they're not closed.
See, I think she has what my loved ones like to call a glaucoma eye.
That's don't
I'm going to strike that from the record.
Wait.
Yeah, like I love, I don't know if you know this, I love like a big bulging eye. And the further apart they are from each other.
Mine are not bulging and very close together.
We're just seeing yours that are so set back, so close together.
It's
but
the complete
do you know what
opposite.
I'm saying? Like that. Anyway.
Like an Elijah Wood? He's the first guy.
Why are you putting this into a male thing?
That's fair. She was good looking in a real, yeah, agreed.
She just said that to me. I don't know, but it's funny how what women think, and
No, but I agree. And she had a real. She was good. Like
she was so good.
She held her shit. Like I believed every word she said. Like I believed she was a powerful congresswoman. Like it was solid across. Fucking good for you.
I gotta say though, what a wild ride to not know the story and just have Nicedo in, the other man's body being like, yeah, I've been
Agent
boning
Pierce.
her basically. I was like, what?
I know. That was
then I was like, oh, that's right.
It was a risky show.
David Conrad.
I mean, the tension between the out-of-towners is good. Like I like entering a season where things aren't all hunky-dory, where you're entering into a mess, like a total chaos fray, where I'm hanging out with Tess, breaking rocks. She's teaching me how to do my shit. And like nothing is, kind of as it started in the pilot where we're all like in lockstep together trying to figure this thing out. And we've now kind of all gone our own separate ways. And then we got to find our way back. I mean, that's what you need to do in a TV show.
This is time to focus. This is.
And I also say, does Hansen die? Because do-gooders should die. That guy keeps trying to fuck us. That guy, like the do-gooder cop, he's like, I'm going to turn this in, Sheriff. I'm going to send it to the lab, Sheriff. I was like, Hansen needs to die for our sake.
Yeah.
Which is not and he would have been a good kill. Like, I think if you give him a little more story, I think he was so endearing, right? And he was so straight edge, by the book, the guy that everybody should be rooting for, but he's putting the aliens in so much danger because of this, because of his conscience, because of what he should be doing, that I just wrote Hansen would have been a good kill.
Yeah, I was not into his blandness. I actually wrote Hansen bop. And that's the biggest slam I could give someone. Yeah. When you're breaking the rocks with Tess, just to go back to that, had she just showered? And had you just eaten like a really, really oily fried chicken? There was just this weird oil.
No, because I'm sweating. That was
right
sweat
under your
from
mouth?
Well, it wasn't done properly then, but it was supposed to be me sweating.
That's
breaking
what is it called?
rocks,
Glycerin?
working very hard. And no, I remember Tess coming in with that haircut. I think it was just a style choice of like
showered look. Yeah.
No, it wasn't a showered look. I think it was supposed to be like a gel, like
wet hair.
Yeah, wet hair.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I've gone to my own events with the wet hair. I understand that. I wrote. Now this is a little bit later, but I wrote Michael falls like a little baby and finds a wrinkly hand when you fall. Remember that part?
Yeah. I had to take the trip. I had to find
like a little toddler. It was so a little baby.
Well, I recognize that I ran a little funny. I didn't run like I would run in real life because you're trying to find the timing of it.
Right.
And so it was like you kind of short step it a little, right?
Yeah.
While you're trying to get it and then fall at the right moment. So
it was very like my bottle.
I wrote I loved the distinction talking about Congressman Whitaker. In the beginning, Maria's like, who is this woman? And they're like, it's the congressman. You're like, I got to read more or whatever you said. And then Liz meets her and is like, you're my hero, and knows everything about her.
Maria's like, it's
how
Topolsky.
are these two even ever hanging out? This doesn't mesh.
Oh, yeah. That was not surprising. The best thing. I did write Liz, all grown up, boundary queen. And then I wrote blech, Congress. So very in keeping with Maria, but for very different reasons. But I just loved how much she had that vibe of like, I'm like a grown ass woman now, and I work for a congresswoman possibly, and I don't have time for this being all about you to Max.
And the fact that Max, we are on the verge of being caught. There is something going on. And him and Katie are having this conversation walking down the street about it. And then he sees Liz. He's like, yeah, never mind. And then he goes. I'm just like, hey, I have a note, like, you need to be more practical, man. We're in a life and death situation. And he just puts this on hold for Liz. Like, I get it, but we need to focus.
Love.
Maxwell.
Yeah. I mean, I get it.
That's what I'm doing, breaking rocks.
Yeah.
Honing my skills.
I guess. I mean,
Gotta start somewhere.
Now that you're the killer, I mean, I would want to hone that too.
I'm a straight murderer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill is so good. He walked that line I don't know where you're at in your notes, but when he's interrogating me in front of Hansen about the knife, like, did you do that? That's a scene that's been written before, right? When there's two people having to have a conversation that have been involved in something, you don't want to get your friend in trouble. Like,
right.
Their mother asks and they're going, where were you guys? And you're going, you don't know what story your friend has told their mom. So you're trying to, and it could get a little like cheesy and hammy and a little too on the nose, or not enough. And I just thought Bill walked that line so well of, he didn't give anything away. Like, he stayed in character of like being a sheriff, asking real questions in front of Hansen and putting that on. I thought of putting myself, because I'm at the age Bill is now, of giving me that audition scene.
Right.
And I think I would have given it a little bit more, and wrongfully so, a little bit more of like a wink, wink, like we're doing this together, where Bill, where Bill just
Points
didn't
to it.
he just didn't do it at all, right? Because he knew the story, like he just kept with it. There was no kind of change of tone or intonation. He just like, you know, the only thing was, do I need to remind you? And I
Right.
say, yes, you do.
Right.
And, you know, giving him the go ahead. And he's like, when you guys went there, you're causing trouble and you're taking pot, you know, which is very
Right.
typical. I just thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I wrote sleeveless Brendan, great hair. And then I wrote, but you're no Maria and monsters, but good scene.
Oh, thanks.
You
I
know,
wrote
when
that sleeveless piece is real bold.
Oh man, there was so much. I bring that up later. I'm like, sleeveless work in this episode for Michael.
Well,
But
I had
yeah,
to wear a tank. I had to wear the wife beater. Are we allowed to say that anymore? Tank top?
I have no idea. Is that?
I mean, but yeah.
Are we worried we're insulting the wife?
I don't have my
beaters more?
tattoos yet.
Oh, Brendan, that's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't have them yet.
Oh no, not ruined yet. That's so heartbreaking. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, I just kept thinking I was so much better when I was in a scene by myself with the sheriff, and I forgot that your arms were like virgin arms.
Mm. Oh, you were thinking, oh, I didn't do as well as...
Yeah, that was my dumb note. You're no Maria and monsters.
Oh, jeez. I see. Yeah. No,
it's
I didn't cry.
Be funny.
I actually thought I was proud of that scene that I did with them of not being...
It was good.
I actually did like that. But talking about
Wait,
talk about being good.
Oh.
David Conrad does a good job of being Nacedo.
Right.
You know, when he's got to talk like Jim, or, you know, like he has to talk as Nacedo and not Agent Pierce. He gives it a little something. It's not too much, but it's definitely not Agent Pierce, and it's fun. And I thought he did a really good job, because that could have gone off the rails a little bit, but kudos to that guy. Okay, this is a weird one. And for anyone who wants to go back and watch, because I've known Adam Rodriguez for a while. I knew him from this show. I worked with him on CSI Miami for 2.5 years. Not like a lot, but spent a lot of time with him. He was on night shift for a number of, I don't know, 6 or I don't know how many episodes he did. So I've spent a fair amount of time with him, and I've watched him watching these episodes, and him, and this is weird, him and Grant Sorensen, the man who plays Grant Sorensen, have very similar mouth movements and idiosyncrasies with the way their mouth goes and their lips and the way they talk. Like if you just cut their lips out, it's almost a foreshadow to Jessie. Like it's very interesting giving her that love interest. And I went, oh, he's got Adam's, like he talks the same. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't, maybe he does, but I noticed it. Go back and compare people.
Yeah.
That was probably
definitely
my hottest note.
Agree. And I see I think there's a similar nose and mouth situation.
Okay. So we're on, interesting. Good. Nacedo's a great fucking character.
I thought you were going to say something else just now.
What I said.
I did write sex/porn vibes at the autopsy between Valenti and the Congresswoman. They really did have like a vibe, no?
I didn't notice it, but good
they
for
were,
him.
You know, when they were looking at like the autopsy of the
bones.
I was like,
ribs.
Are they gonna just throw the bones off the table and like get? And then I was like, no. And then it really made me question what I consider seduction. You know?
Yeah.
And then I wrote, she doesn't blink. Not related to anything pornographic.
Right.
She literally does not blink. And that is, as I'm sure you can imagine, very impressive to me.
Yeah, exactly. I do have well done, Michael. Speech was great. That was talking about Valenti not being ready in the jail.
Yeah.
I was proud of myself. But I did say it's got to be tough when Max gives Nacedo the order of not to kill. which seems like obvious. But it does have to be tough from a story standpoint and just from a character standpoint of being in control, being the king, having been told this, but not remembering it, not having any of the information to really move on. It's like being president of the United States, but not knowing anything that's going on with the country. And this is not we're not talking about it. No, but like not even being there, right? It's like someone else ruling it and wanting to rule it well, not knowing the dynamics, having people tell them different things, having, he doesn't know he can trust Nasedo.
The whole thing could be a sham and you're some sort of puppet for God knows what, or these are all the wild delusions of, who knows?
So it's the first time where I went, I see this, tough being a king, but he didn't know shit about what's going on. And those have got to be tough decisions to make. So while, I was, Michael was appropriately hard on him and pushed him, he didn't necessarily take that into consideration all the time. So.
Yeah, it really is a leap of faith. It's not even a leap. It's just deep
being told you got to
faith.
be with Tess. This is the fourth one. This is what we're doing. And
I'm sorry, my brother's the king. All of that requires a folly, what? For? I wrote in here a quote from my daughter. Are you ever on the show? ? And I say, that's why
she
this
watched
is.
The show?
She was sat down while I was watching. And she's like, this is very slow. And I said, because we need more Maria. She's a breath of fresh. And it's true. This is where I started to get like, can we have a little pick-me-up?
I mean, not saying we shouldn't. I thought we missed something here. We missed killing Hansen. This is a missed opportunities.
Poor Hansen.
Killing Hansen was one. That's the name of my new show, Killing Hansen.
Totally.
And Max in that accelerator where he goes to save the day. And then he gets blasted because he's walking into what I feel is like a massive X-ray machine or something. I don't know the science behind it.
This cannot be good for anyone's health, period.
This cannot be good. So to not have given him something that happened to him, some sort of an aftermath to call it like cancer, whatever. I don't know, something that he can't heal himself. Right? To not have given him something health-wise that was detrimental, that put him in a personal life and death situation outside of even the alien thing, I thought would have been really interesting. And then could have led more back to the relationship stuff, right? Of, how do you care for your friend and how does that make Liz feel? Liz goes back to him because he's sick. Yeah.
Yes, it becomes Friday Night Lights and she breaks up with him. I did say, though, listen, not good for Max's health, but of course, Max being the king, he steps up to the occasion and does so with jazz hands.
There we go. My daughter just came in the garage in case anyone heard it. She's driving my car. I don't know if you did, but what jazz hands? Wait.
I don't know. He just put his hands and just did a little like jazz hand. He recovered and then jazz hand this skeleton and just got it done.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah. I did say this the whole thing, the Cadmium X thing, it feels like something that we should be outsourcing in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, interesting. I kept
Don't you think?
waiting for...
I don't think we're
I kept...
pinnacle of science.
I mean, we didn't even know what it was, so we just called it. Why did we base it on cadmium is the other thing. It's cadmium X. It's like a version of cadmium.
Cadmium X, yeah.
With more isotopes. This is why I was looking up isotopes. Wondering what an isotope was. It's something that has more positive neutrons or something like that. I don't know. I didn't get far with that. But what I did want to say was I was waiting for someone to mispronounce it. Cadmium, because it's it's not cadmium. Yeah, cadmium. And everyone,
cadmium.
I
know.
Everyone nailed it. Cadmium.
Cadmium. Yeah.
Cadmium. It just rolls off the tongue, but it seemed like an odd word. Yeah, I always thought of Cadbury instantly. Michael and Maria, that was a great scene. That was a tough scene for the Candy fans, but it was a great scene at the end. You missed me, and then I'm just like, no, don't.
I just wrote, Maria needs to bone Grant. She just needs a dum-dum to have sex with.
No, jeez.
You know?
Really don't put her in that.
This feels like someone just needs a boning. She's led with, I hear, blah, 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 whatever, great and bad.
I think she was just having fun. Jeez, don't reduce Maria to such depravity.
Oh, my God. Even Robin Burnett agrees. I'm not kidding.
And when Max touches Liz, trying to win her back, speaking of like Sayentine style, trying to win her back, he touches her and gives her those memories. Right? That is like, isn't that like that's almost sexual assault? Like, don't you need consent?
Well, that's why we don't touch people.
Well, but then gives her the memories, right? Like, like it's almost like a manipulation. It's almost like a hypnotize.
For some people, that's what
it's
that
an alien
does.
roofie.
Exactly.
It's an alien roofie.
I don't think he did that on purpose. I think that I don't think he did that on purpose. I think that's what happens when they. Oh my God. I think that's just what happens when they touch, and it's in a charged situation where he's has.
He didn't seem surprised by it, though. He seemed like it was a move, maybe. I mean, I'll have to rewatch it. I'm not accusing him of anything.
Because he doesn't feel it on his end. I don't think it's the same shock to him because he's probably getting these visions all the time with all kinds of things. But I think it's marked for a human. But I don't think he did it on purpose. I think it was just like a charged, pent up.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't know.
I gotta
That's
go
interesting.
Back. I got the feeling he was just like
Max touches her / alien powers of sexuality.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately my note right after that is shirtless Max, a gift.
I mean, truly.
Meaning it was truly a gift, because Jason was he was not a man very happy to take his shirt off. So it was like, wow, that was very nice of you. I mean, this is what the people needed.
And I mean, yeah, incredible physique. Good on him. Very disciplined, and he fucking worked for it. But the ending, it's a great ending.
Mm-hmm.
Revealing the skins. But in my opinion, it went on about 20 seconds, 15 seconds too long, where it just should have ended on Sato going, the skins, and then dying. But it cuts back to Jason watching him die for like 15 seconds. And it's just like, no, end on the skins and black. And people are going, what the?
Right, because I don't know if you've noticed, a common thread with all the rewatches where everyone's like, it was too slow. Our brains needed longer processing time back then. It must be the case because
I don't, no.
Things, feel a little spoon-fed, but
no, this wasn't slow. That was
Frakes' note.
I understand. And I agree with him, but I don't agree with him. I think some things shouldn't have been slow. I know he should have, but I thought I was
he wasn't saying that all things should have been tightened up, but there were just some things that should have been tightened up.
Whether it was 25 years ago or now, I was just like, for a network television show, you end on the skins and that should be the last thing people kind of, it could cut back to Jason just super briefly, or it could stay on Sato. But it went on like 15 seconds after that where nothing was said and you kind of just watch him die and you see Jason watch him die. But just maybe he doesn't die. He just says the skins. And then next episode, we find out he actually died, right? We don't need to see that. The only thing we needed from that is the skins and they had attacked him and it's like out and end it there. I'm just saying it was 15 seconds.
Oh, yeah. I think if this was a show now, there wouldn't be 22 episodes and we'd be doing this episode 6, season 1.
Right. Okay. Well, speaking of endings, that is the ending of our introduction. And a new beginning.
A lot of endings today.
A lot of endings. And this relationship, this
you
podcast,
lost your book
is
and
the
we're not
last
doing this
episode of the podcast. Everything's ending. This ending to this podcast is way too long.
We're back.
Totally. Okay, but
give us a recap about what a recap is, please.
Yeah, let's do that for fun. Well, our guest he's been in the business for I don't know how long. He's been in some phenomenal stuff from Revenge of the Nerds
to Field of Dreams, to West Wing, 30-something. He's executive produced and directed a litany of shows, from Without a Trace to Ed to Secrets and Lies to Studio 60. He is the former semi-pro athlete, huge in the theater, and he's just one of my favorite people ever, Mr. Timothy Busfield. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Mo, is everything good on your end?
Yes. I think so.
Okay.
You let me know. You tell me.
No, it looks good. Can you
Hi,
actually
Tim,
lower
how
your?
are ya?
Can you actually lower your camera just so I have? Because it's when we do the video.
We need an HR team on this.
No, not
Every
you,
time.
Tim. Yours is fine. There we go.
I was always
Okay.
trying to get me to lower it.
Yeah, lower your camera. Okay.
Just want to see your pants.
Exactly. Yeah. Want to see if you're wearing pants. How are you, Tim?
I'm good. I'm glad seeing you two guys together. You're good together. You're so dumb together.
We're also a little dumb on our
True
own too.
words.
No, well,
So it works out.
not so much, but
It's
yeah.
just not
You
as
guys-
funny on our own.
Yeah, you like dropping the IQ on camera, and I like it.
Yes, it's easier that way. Well, we've given you your introduction, everything you've done, shows, directing, producing, but the reason I gave you this episode, did you watch this episode?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Wow,
what
thank
were
you,
your
Jim.
thoughts on it?
It was cool. It was, it's a throwback to the old 4x3 days, when they didn't think 16x9 could be a literal frame. I think it was more of that. It was, I love a sci-fi. And I loved you guys. I love you, and I love seeing you guys. It's kind of a soap, I hadn't really watched the show much, and then, in that era of Dawson's Creek and everything else like that, you guys were just sort of young, good-looking people that killed other people.
I was the one that, I killed. Yeah, I was the first one to kill someone on that. But the reason I gave this to you is because this is the season premiere of season 2.
Right.
And you have been executive producer on a few shows. You're on Cleaning Lady now. And how would you describe that? Because you're not the showrunner on these shows, but you are. They do rely pretty heavily on you, do they not? In terms of, what would your title be?
It depends, on the showrunner. Some showrunners their attitude is the head writer is the showrunner, and their attitude is, I want you to do everything I don't want to do.
Okay.
And then, you're casting and post and, whatever it is they don't want to do. And some showrunners they so embrace that power and know that it's the time in their life when they can have all this power, and their tendency and their big mistake is to use it everywhere. Even in areas where they're not particularly very good, and they get bogged down. So right now I have a very strong showrunner, Daniel Cerrone, who wants me. We're pretty much joined at the hip. Visually, I'm in charge of that and all the performances and all the sets and all the costumes and all that stuff. And he likes to weigh in, look at it, but he's really delegating a lot. So I get to be a producer more than just a name, with a producer credit that occasionally cleans up other episodes. I'm very involved on this show, so it's great.
Good, because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like you've come in as a fixer on a few shows in terms of righting the ship in a season, or maybe possibly going in a different direction.
I think on Without a Trace, I was definitely brought in with that. I wasn't necessarily brought into my first one, Ed, to write the ship. The producing director, his family was in California, and they wanted somebody that would help keep it going. And there's been shows where I started off with it right at the top, and been first season after the pilot been that guy. So it varies, from job to job.
Because this season was Jason Katims was the creator and then showrunner, and then in the second season they brought in Ron Moore, and he, I think, was eventually going to kind of take over as showrunner, but in seasons 2 and 3 they kind of worked together, and so the show in season 2 starts to go on a real sci-fi bent, which is Ron's kind of forte with Battlestar Galactica, and a few others. And so that's where our show was always trying to find the balance, was between the soap, like you called it, the relationships and the drama and the sci-fi.
Right.
And this one, you can see in season 2, if you've watched, it starts kind of really heading into that sci-fi direction. And so that
there's a marked difference between the end of, just season 1 in general to season 2, not only in storyline, where suddenly we're more of like these like alien hunters, whereas before it was My So-Called Life meets the X-Files.
Yeah.
This one, suddenly we are a little bit more Buffy, and then we also look wildly different than the first season. We were a Fox pilot that got picked up by the WB, and it took us a full year to learn how to look like WB people.
Yeah. And how did you like the change of Jason to Moore? How was that for you guys?
I think it confused us and it confused the show. I think, there was kind of 2 captains, and you're just kind of looking like, what captain am I listening to, and are they on the same page, and what are they looking for, and why was he brought in? And if he was brought in for a particular reason, maybe that's the guy we should be listening to. But it kind of muddies the water, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's like having, 2 directors on a show, essentially, where, I don't know if that's ever, a good idea. And so for me, it signaled you've been on a show that's kind of, that have been canceled and some that are really successful. But, towards the end of the season and throughout the season, you get little signs of how you're doing and how the network and the studio are viewing you. And all of a sudden you take all these left and right turns and you're going, are we trying to save this, or are we trying to, what's going on behind the scenes? And this felt like we were definitely going another direction. And while that can be exciting, it's we're all actors, right? It plants a little seed of doubt in terms of, okay, what now?
It's a bit terrifying, and it doesn't happen often on the long runs. The long runs, they'll get rid of their showrunner after 3 or 4 years. Like Sorkin left after 4 because Warner Brothers just said, we can't afford to make the show. It's just the scripts have got to get written and blah, blah, blah. They had a bunch of reasons, but it was already 4 years of that show. It's tough when there's that change. It sort of, I've been on shows where that's happened. I've been on this show that I'm on. The showrunners last year are no longer the showrunners this year. So, but it's been a positive experience. But it can, it's year 4.
Right.
So it's different from year 1 to year 2. It's like, how do we change? What are we supposed to change? That can be tough. But you guys was great. I liked it. I really liked it. I could have, especially after seeing your little pilot, I would have loved to laugh at you guys more, knowing how funny you are.
There was more. There were definitely many more episodes that had a little more levity. This one was very serious in comparison to some of the Roswell episodes that could be a little lighter.
But they had to, a lot of it is, I think, because of one, you really get it in the recap, the pushing a boulder up. The show really went out of its way to make sure that everybody was completely clear on what happened in season 1. It was like a whole act. Almost recap.
That was one of my questions for you, is how, that was clearly a specific recap. How, sitting on the psychiatrist's couch, was it too on the nose? Was there a better way of doing this?
No,
at the time, it was fine.
You know what? It was a bit long, I sign off on these things, right? So, I sign off on our recap. the other day, and I looked at it and I thought, well, yeah, okay, we're clearing out a lot of stuff because of the new showrunner. So it felt like that. It felt like the one that we just did in a way, because the new showrunner wanted to really set his show off in the right direction. So there's all kinds of stuff clearing out the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, you're trying to push it aside a little bit and go, this is what happened, but we're going to maybe this,
Yeah.
sweep it under the rug, no new direction.
Yeah. And I loved it. I love Sadler. I love Billy Sadler. I've used him a lot. I hire him a lot on jobs I'm on. I love seeing him on the show. He's just a strong actor. And I love it's just my cup of tea. I'm surprised I didn't watch it much at the time. I know my son, who is, I think, 9 or 10 at the time when it came out, watched it.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what you said that, it was kind of a soap. And I had a question here about 30-something, which you starred. And that could have been, what made that not a soap? Because it could have gone but it could have gone in a really cheesy direction.
Yeah.
But it was,
I think it was because that show particularly was husbands and wives writing the show at each other. We had the two creators hired their wives as writers as well. And they would record their fights and then write those fights into the show. And you'd read it and go, oh my God, I can't believe this sounds so real. It feels so real. But our problems were it was a primetime soap. I mean, our problems were small, like on your show. The problems between the group were jealousies or misunderstandings or taking advantage of or taking for granted, all these personal hurts that happen with young people that might not quite know how to deal with the fact they're also an alien. You throw that in the mix, and you have a Jason Kadam's sci-fi show. And he does the soap thing well. I mean, he does that really well. And it's the kind of stuff I like, honestly. I like going to action. Like yesterday, we were at a 9:20 Gladiator 2. We couldn't wait to get up and go see it. But the stuff that I'm mostly interested in and the stuff I do the most are, people crying and being upset, So
Right.
somebody's hurt their feelings.
I like that stuff too.
So I liked it. And 30-something, it could have been, I don't know how we could have been more of a soap, but it was a soap. This is Chicago.
Hey, Chicago.
And now, remind me again, Tim, who the showrunners were of 30-something? Was that
30-something,
Marshall?
yeah. Marshall Herskovitz and Ed Zwick were the showrunners on 30-something, and they didn't want to make a TV show. They had won a bunch of Emmys for a documentary, mockumentary kind of thing about the last days of the earth, and it won a bunch of Emmys, and it was very successful, and they got a deal at ABC. But they also, Ed had directed About Last Night, and they had Glory. They owned that. They had Shakespeare in Love in their back pocket. They had Courage Under Fire, and they owned the book for Legends of the Fall. So they were like, we don't want to make a TV show. And so they went into ABC, and Brandon Stoddard said, okay, what do you got? And they said, oh, it's just a show about, a bunch of people in their 30s just sitting around talking. And the network said, great. And they said, well, it doesn't have a lot of plot. There's not a lot of procedural to it. And they said, great.
Are they trying to talk themselves?
Yeah, they were trying
out
to
of a
talk
job?
the network out of the job because they wanted to go make those movies. And they made Glory at the end of year one. They prepped it all year. So they were like, we don't really want to do TV. And then they said, well, screw it. If we're going to do TV, we're going to do it. We're not going to show them our first drafts. The shows aren't going to be about big procedural problem. They're going to be about jealousy and feeling not respected, or smaller problems that can become big problems. And they had that attitude of, kind of flipping the bird to the network and the studio, and this is how we're going to do it. And honestly, if they hadn't had that attitude, I don't think we ever would have made it on air with network in, the way they interfere and the way they get involved with production and story and this and that. They would have, I think, messed us up completely. So we were fortunate that they, kept the network and studio at bay.
Yeah, they are real sort of pioneers in that way. They had made at the time the first web series that was sort of like a younger 30-something called Quarter Life. They made it.
You were
first
on that, right? Weren't you on that?
Well, they had the ABC pilot Quarter Life, and then had the ABC experience, Yeah. So they just scrapped it, started all over again, and did like a full series. And then, of course, got bought and buried, because that's the joy of our business. But it's very interesting, their take on things and their way of sort of like trying to rework, rethink. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But they do love that navel gazing sort of mockumentary type interpersonal relationship. I mean, that's where they really shine.
They do. Navel gazers. They're two world-class navel gazers. I wish, I can't wait to tell them that. You guys are just navel gazers. That's all you write. Good old,
Stop navel gazing.
Stop navel gazing. And navel gazing, and write us a procedural. I worked for them a few years ago on Nashville, where they took over there, and I went in and directed a few. They're filmmakers. They taught me so much, those guys, working with those guys, and the people that came out of that camp. So many directors and producers and the writers on it were, when you read a script in our business and you go, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can't believe I get to say this. I can't believe I get to play this. It was like that every episode for somebody. Yeah.
It's so wild. It feels like such a long career. Like if you just think of right now with Wicked and Winnie Holzman, and just coming from my so-called life with them, they really have sort of been involved in every aspect of all these different things that you're like, geez, what can't they do or help flourish? It's quite a team.
Yeah, they're really, and we, one of the great things about that show too is there was no, it was like an extended AFI program. There, Steve Rosenblum, who was in school with them, all these guys came and sort of, we all had the dailies were left out every day in the dailies room, and we went to dailies every day. The actors would go, there'd be chicken and pasta and salad, and we'd go in and watch dailies, and the director would have to sit between Ed Marshall, and they were rough on us. You would lose weight. You'd be sweating with these guys on both sides going, oh my God, why would you do it like that? And they'd stop and go, oh. And you'd be like, and you knew all the rest of the cast was behind you, all the other directors amazing. And Olin and those guys, and we'd be laughing at whoever was in the hot seat. Director would come in on day one all excited. Oh, dailies, I get to watch dailies. And we'd be like eating our chicken and salad saying, okay, this is going to be rough.
Buckle
and sure
up.
enough, you can see the sweat off the back of their head, like Albert Brooks in broadcast news. It would just pour off you while you're watching with them. And they were really, we called him the rabbi and the terrorist. And Ed Rick was the terrorist and Marshall was the rabbi. And, when you sat between them, it was that uncomfortable.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
But they would teach you so much. They were so good about, I remember going to them and saying, I want to shoot these flashbacks with Polly Draper's character. I want to shoot them in black and white. And they went, oh. And I want to shoot them at handheld. And they went, oh. And I said, I want to shoot them at 24 frames. And they went, oh. And then they went, well, it's your movie. And it was like that across the board. We'd like you to cast this person. I want to cast that person. They'd say, okay, it's your movie. And they taught us all to be responsible filmmakers and be responsible towards all departments. And there was no big ego. You were, and even though we were actors, all directors were encouraged to work with the writer and then love and appreciate the actors and do whatever you can to make sure that they're grounded and inspired. And so they got theater directors. They got a guy named Ron Lago Marcino to come in, and a bunch of people that had been really strong in the theater. They didn't want TV bad habits. They didn't want classic TV directors, and they made directors out of us. And one of the directors on our show never directed our show, but did our costumes and won 2 Emmys, was Patrick Norris, who was our costume designer, who went on to direct more episodes of your show than anybody. So he was our
he was our first guest on this.
That's my favorite, knowing that those are his beginnings, because we always ask him about that.
Yeah.
We're very sort of fashion leaning when we talk to Patrick. He's like, what? But yeah, it is. They really foster this environment, it feels like. And somehow it's this huge, 7 degrees of separation between all of us. I mean, there's kind of like always a Marshall and Ed connection.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Except for you, Brendan.
Yeah, no one likes me. No one ever wants to work with me again. I'm just a one and done. And then
you did Roswell. That's the connection.
Yeah,
Jason Katims.
Mo and I are here.
Exactly.
We're connecting you.
Well, speaking of connections, you worked with Jason Bear's wife on Secrets and Lies. Katie Strickland, right? Katie Strickland?
Yeah.
So that's the guy who plays Max. That's his wife.
Yeah. Katie was great. Loved Katie. Had a great time with Katie. We did Secrets and Lies. Melissa, my wife, was on the show, and it was really a lot of fun.
And speaking of the theater, which I've never done, and I feel like I'm missing out, because Denzel's speaking. He's doing the whole press tour for Gladiator 2, and I just saw one where he said, "You learn to act in the theater. You don't learn to act on a movie set." And he goes, "So if you want to be where I am," he's like, "you got to go to theater. You got to start in theater." And you are a big theater guy, Tim. You've not developed, but created, what's the word? Started like 2 of the most successful theater companies. Founded. Yeah. 2 of the most successful theater companies in the U.S., right?
Yeah, it's now even bigger than that. It's an institution now. The whole idea, honestly, I adapted my freshman year in high school. 2 girls in class said, hey, Bus, we want to do a Charlie Brown Christmas for our English class as a special project. And I said, oh, that's cool. And they said, we want you to do Charlie Brown. And I said, okay. And they said, and we want you to write it and direct it. And I went, oh, okay. I've never really written and directed a play before, but okay. But I tried when I was in 8th grade. And so we just took everything off the show and we mounted it. And I remember we finished the run of it for the English teacher and the head of the theater department at the high school. And it was a strong musical theater program. And they were both in tears. And not because the story had moved them as much, I didn't realize until later, is that they'd never had anybody come in and write a play and go after an audience. And it seemed to have, they were excited and just touched. And 38 years later, we have 11 million in the bank. We perform for all ages, 200,000 kids a year, 150,000 adults a year, where we do play, we have music. It's just, we have this institution. It worked. So that mission by me, and not only do I, and Brendan, you should definitely go try and take those roles from Denzel by going and doing theater. I want you to go do that. I want you to go do a play, especially if you can wear a toga like he can, a Gladiator. But I am passionate about the theater. I do believe that I've created a template for the fix, and I do have plans to build 40 theaters across the country as sort of a chain of what I created, which is outreach, feed the guppies, and then give them a place to come when they're older. It's real simple. Go to them and make them trust theater when they're young, and they'll come back. And the NEA came out a few years ago with a survey thing they did, one of their things, and it said that if you haven't seen a play by the time you're 10, you probably will never go see a play.
Wow.
So it's really important that if we want the theater to survive, that we get into the elementary schools and make it part of their curriculum. And that is still a passion of mine. So
That's awesome. That's so beautiful, especially because there's so many of us that are little theater kids. We need to find those like-minded friends.
Were you a theater kid, Mo?
I went to a musical theater school, like that you had to audition for and was really hard to get in. And I was more a musical theater.
Right.
But, like it is sort of and there was people there that were there for dance and people that were there for fine art and stuff. But it's like kind of all of the same outcasty, weirdos.
Yeah. We were, a few years ago, I taught at Michigan State. In 2016, I was a full professor at Michigan State, and I had to turn in the syllabus and all of this kind of stuff. And one of the things I wrote in my sort of what I was going to do while I was there was we would go outreach into the schools, because that's what I'd done. And I wanted to incorporate it into my teaching, my curriculum. And I would go to the principals, superintendents, and I'd say, do you have students that are over emotional, don't pay attention, like to distract the class, constantly daydreaming? And they said, yes, my God, what do we do with them? And I said, they're actors.
Yep.
Those are our people.
Yes.
We pay a lot of money for actors who can cry on cue, that are emotionally bankrupt, that can come to work and explode with rage and then laugh 2 seconds later. Those are all the attributes of what we want. Let's put those kids in, let's give them, let's let them improvise and play. And we'd go to the classes and they would point them out, and we'd pull up some of those kids, and boy, they were so excited to express themselves. So, that's sort of what you were just saying a second ago, Mo, that sort of, you depicted it so well, that sort of damage that is at the heart of us. Yeah.
Yes. And to keep, to just give kids like that a place. And then that just completely dictates how they grow up and the peers and friendships.
My youngest really wanted to go to a different school this year. And it's such a pain in the ass. It's way across town, but it's the, and so when I took her on a tour there, it was, it was acting, it was, it was filmmaking, it was podcasts, it was flamenco, it was ballet, it was dance, it was musical theater, it was all this stuff. And she wants to be an actor and she wants to get into it. And she wasn't so much distracted. She's a great student, but you could tell that there was the typical, where she was going to school, they had a dress code of sorts. You had to wear the school shirt. You can't wear anything on your head, no holes in jeans, this and that. And with her outfits, even something as simple as that, that was how she expressed herself, growing up at 7, 8, and 9, you know, all the pink and the floof and the this and the, you know, and the hair. And when she got the opportunity to go to the school, she was just, I mean, you could tell, I mean, her face just lit up. It was the greatest thing in the world. And in that school, you know, her schedule is like math and then flamenco and then science and then ballet. And she's learning to do all these things. Right now she learns, like, I'm not going to take flamenco again, but she's playing violin in school. You know, it's not this, and she loves the violin, and you hear her practice and it sounds like a dying swan, but it's the greatest thing because she enjoys it so much and she can't wait until she gets to be up there and perform and do this. And I just think, you know, for her, what a blessing to be to part of this and then find yourself and what you want to do in those, you know, kind of, you know, everyone's an outcast at that school. So no one is.
Exactly. Yeah.
And how fortunate, think about all of the public school kids across the country who are artists on the inside, but have no avenue to express that. Can't do it in their clothes, can't do it in anything. It is just sports, like what Mo was saying, and there's no opportunity. And how do you get out? That's the big question for all of them is I'd love to be an actor. I'd love to be a musician, but how? What's the path? Do I have to go to New York or LA? That's
me
scary.
and Majandra are still asking that question.
Yeah, we're like, how do we get
how do I
TV?
get a show? How do we get a job? How do we become an actor?
It's so true. It takes such courage in a small town.
In high school, honestly, I was a football, baseball player, and I didn't do the fall play or the spring play. I was a jock. And when I finally did Guys and Dolls, she was blocking me in my baseball uniform. She was like, Busfield, I've seen you since Charlie Brown. In my senior year, you have to do a play. And I was like, I don't want to hang with you people.
Yeah, I was the same way. I took journalism over drama because I was like, drama, you put on makeup and you dress up, you're a bunch of geeks. What's the point? You guys are just wasting your time, and I'm going to go on and have a career while you guys are, doing whatever it is you do down at the theater. And then when I kind of fell into it, I went, I didn't know I had this. I like this. This is fucking great.
Yeah. These are my people.
Yeah.
There was this last year, I was inducted into the Sacramento Baseball Hall of Fame as a pitcher. In my adult life, I pitched semi-pro baseball while I was doing my theater in Sacramento. And I thought I'd get a laugh when I picked up my jacket and I had my speech, and I told them how I'd be in the car singing West Side Story before a game, watching the game before from my car. The Jets are gonna have it. Tim is gonna have his day tonight. And they weren't laughing. None of the jocks in the room. And I was trying to explain to them that I was not a normal athlete type. I'm a, theater guy. I was trying to break that, and they didn't get it. They just stared at me, and I was in trouble.
That's too repressed. They're like, we have pushed that down in ourselves.
We don't. Yeah, singing and dancing. That's not. You don't. We don't. You're not one of those people.
That's for sissies. Yeah. You're like, no, it's just a part of being a human. But for sure, there is a stigma. It's a bummer.
And what is your? You direct more now than you act. Is that correct in saying that? Are you behind the camera more than in front these days, or is it 50-50?
Until somebody gives me a part on a series, I'll do whatever. I'm about to do wardrobe if I can get it. A couple of years ago, I was a series regular on a show that lasted 2 years. So I'd rather be a series reg on a show and work 1 or 2 days a week, and say, I got the governor up, the mayor's up my butt, and we gotta catch that killer, and I can't get out there, and I want to be that Law and Order sergeant, the guy who works one day.
Yeah, the guy stuck in the control room, so you never have to be on location.
Yeah, never. It's one set. Yeah. The guy comes in an office. He comes out and says, "I'm eating Rolaids." This is terrible.
It's me on CSI Miami where I was stuck in the AV lab, and I was like, "Let me track the phone number. This is the address. This is where they are," and that was it. I went in for 45 minutes, for 2.5 years, and was sent out.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love that. That's the most fun. I think creatively, it's work. I'm a network television director. It's a great job. It pays well. It has allowed me to put my kids through school, and it pays the rent. And, it's a great job. And thank God I'm lucky enough I can do it. Would I rather not work for other people? Yes. Would I rather explore the creative part of making my own movies and TV shows? And I think there's a smaller way nowadays, especially to be able to create content in a GarageBand kind of way. I think you guys did it really well with your pilot. I think there's ways of staying in control. Wear a lot of hats, have a smaller unit of people, and be able to create content. And with YouTube and so many other areas, everybody launched a platform to air stuff, And then we had a strike and a pandemic and we ran out of content. So it's struggling getting it back going again. But there are a lot of places that are desperate for material. And I want to see you guys make the next one where maybe you're a good TV couple and you're a good story. You're fun to watch. So I would like to see you guys share your damage and you're, with people.
Yeah.
I remember I did a pilot for Warner Brothers. I acted in a pilot for Warner Brothers while I was producing a show called Without a Trace. And I shared a private bathroom as a producer with the writer of a guy named Marsh McCall, who's passed, and he was across the hall. And he had auditions out. They had auditions for a pilot, and I was going to the bathroom, and I kind of thumbed through the sides and found a guy with my age and went in the bathroom, came out a few minutes later and signed in for the audition, but I didn't have an audition. I didn't have anything. I waited in the chair, and I went in and I read, and I came back out, and about 20 minutes later, Christiane Reed from Bruckheimer's office, who was producing the show that Without a Trace, says, what did you just do? They want you on that show. And I go, yeah, that's great. She goes, but you're producing our show. And I go, well, it's Warner Brothers, CBS, and Bruckheimer. So it's all the same. Why can't I do both?
Work it out.
Exactly. So I said, oh, great. So I went over and I go over and do the pilot for the sitcom, which was on the stage. If it had gone, I'd have had these two great jobs. But I went over and the network, this network woman comes up to me and starts tugging on my costume. And I look at her, I go, I'm sorry. She goes, oh yeah, we're at the network. We're not crazy about the shirt. And I said, well, I'm sorry, what do you do? And she goes, well, I'm the network. And, and I said, well, I don't care if you don't like the shirt. And she said, no, I'm sorry, what? And I said, well, it's not, you don't pick my clothes. And she said, well, I don't. And I go, no, that doesn't happen. And she turned and walked away. I was like, I'd never had anybody. Yeah. I'd been producing and directing. I hadn't seen the turnover I hadn't seen it where all of a sudden you went from being the one who decided what you were going to wear with the costume designer and the producers to the network and the studio deciding what you were going to wear. Yeah. And that was a significant 2004, 2005. I felt that shift, and I've seen that resonate in notes and everywhere else from studio and network executives that feel they need to be involved, whether it's to justify their salary or whatever. But that interference on a show where I was like producing one show, I was acting on that show Without a Trace, I was directing it, I'm producing here, I feel as though I have the facilities and the power to be able to say what shirt I can wear. And yet, no.
Because you're supposed to have hired directors, writers, and actors that you trust and that brought something unique. You saw something in them that you wanted, that you thought, yes, you could sell, but you wanted it out there. And then, when you start kind of putting your fingers in those pies, that no one wants the pie doesn't taste as good. It had too many fingers in it.
And also just people coming out of nowhere from some meeting and just having these robot responses to things. Like, I don't think she'd wear blue. And you're just like, what? Sorry, who?
Yeah.
Can you please? And it's so infuriating.
You see it in auditions as well. Used to be you could go in and read it, and you didn't have to have it memorized. Now actors need to come in and be completely off book, and otherwise the people take offense to it.
Right.
They don't understand that we'll be better on the day if we don't over practice it and memorize it down. I'm not in costume. I'm not on the set. I'm not with the other actor. It'll be better. You can trust, but they all want that finished performance. And I find myself saying often in these casting sessions, they'll get there. They're nervous. They don't know the writing that well. That's not the way it's going to be. Do you like their look? And are they close? And do they have an ear for your writing?
I had to do an audition yesterday where the first scene he was in,
a Santa uniform. And it was so awful to do because just wearing a t-shirt with nothing on your face, no hat, no beard, no nothing, and then playing a Santa, you're just like, this is this is almost humiliating. Like it was so hard to do where you're going, ho, ho, ho. And it's just like, and then you watch the tape back and you're like, this is a fucking disaster. What am I doing to myself?
And then you watch, that's the one you get. And that's the one, and you're like, oh my God. Then you're on the set, like with the Santa stuff on, going, what have I done?
Totally.
It's so true.
Thank you so much. We're gonna let you go, but you're one of my
Tim.
favorites.
Thank you, buddy. I love you too, and I want to see you guys together. You and Mo are so good together. I really love seeing, and I meant it. You guys actually act some of the time like normal, intelligent adults, but you spend most of the time struggling with your internal world, which makes me, nothing makes me laugh or enjoy something more than seeing people that their insides aren't working.
It's so true.
It's
It is so enjoyable.
All right, we'll make the next one, and this one's for Timmy.
Okay,
Exactly.
bye, you guys. Thank you.
All right, love you too.
Thank
All
you.
right,
I love you. Bye-bye.
bye. Well, I mean, listen, they're all pleasurable.
Oh,
Does that?
whoa.
That didn't sound right. I'm just talking about all our guests. We've had a great run of guests, and Tim is, I mean, he's as original as they come. He's a he's a total character. He's a little kid, you know.
I guess. Did you think I was frozen? I find him to be.
I was like, what are you doing?
He's very wise, so it's like hard to see him as a little kid. But yes, I see what you mean.
He is very wise, but it was funny when we were doing Night Shift, him and Melissa, his wife, were on the show. He was directing the show, but he was also on the show acting. And she was on the show as well. And they did an episode. So they came out here. And I remember he arrives back Monday morning. And he's like, Brendan, come here. Look at this. Look what we did. And he's on his phone. Him and Melissa went and bought like costumes at a secondhand store. And they made this silly little movie like out in the parking lot with these weird clothes and these accents. And I was just like, wait, what? Like you guys, like this is so, like you guys are children. Like you're doing play and dress up. Like you're actors who have made a living doing this in Field of Dreams and Little House on the Prairie, and you do theater, and you've been on West Wing, and you've done all these top-notch shows, and the fucking guy gets a kick out of going to a secondhand store with his wife and making a dumb little like short thing. And it was just the cutest thing where I was just like, this enthusiasm for like play, but both is as an actor in the industry, but also like with his wife, like to have that much fun with your wife. I was just like, this is just so, it just really endeared me to him even more so.
That's so sweet. Yeah, because that's who he really is. I'm sure that's who he was before he became an actor. You know, some people just love to put on a skit.
Yeah, I mean, just singing that West Side Story on the baseball, right on the bus to the baseball. I could just see everyone going, who is this? What is, just rolling their eyes, right? With absolutely like,
just
can
being
can we cut him? Can we cut him? He's
he makes
he's
me uncomfortable.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, he was lovely. I feel maybe that's more a sign of myself and you, is that he just seems so normal to me. I'm like, yeah, sing that song in the car before going. And
yeah,
the only thing that was abnormal to me was playing baseball. But he's a well-rounded individual. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in the Sacramento Hall of Fame,
that's wild.
He's a pretty good, you know.
I thought it was like he was going to be like JK, like just kidding. And then when that was actually a fact, I was like, oh, okay, this is true. He
Oh, I
actually
was like, who's JK? I was like, what initials are JK? I was like, who's he like?
Right
oh,
after
yeah, no,
JK,
just kidding.
I said, just kidding.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, that was very fun. And
that was fun. Wasn't a lot of the, we covered most of the skin and bones off the top. But, looking back at that episode being the first one of the season, you can, you see those shifts. And this Skin and Bones was, this was one of those shifts where arriving back, and it was our summer, right? That's kind of the funny thing is, us kids are on the show, we're talking about being off for the summer for school. That was, that's our hiatus. It was our summer. So it was like coming back and then going, oh, this is a new show. This is
and you didn't have to be a sensitive or actor or anything to pick up on that shift of the vibe shift of just the show from season 1 to season 2. It was wild.
Yeah, I did
Suddenly
like
we were
it though.
in Coyote Ugly.
If we had kept it at this level, because we are getting, even though it's kind of marked, we are doing it subtly. Like we're not completely jumping into something crazy. We are working our way up to a more sci-fi thing. But I felt, if we would have kept it just at this level, that would have been acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't even, you know what? I don't even remember, I don't even know where we go from here. So what am I? I'm really just talking out of my ass because I have to finish watching all of season 2 and really see if it's how I remember it or how I talk about it even.
Right. But I mean, we can definitely say for sure there was a shift change.
Yeah.
And definitely a looks change.
Well, but that wasn't their doing. Like my look change was because like I had said before, I'd done the Forsaken and I was like, this is my hair now. And I'm growing and I'm going to grow it out for season 3. It's going to get longer.
Right.
So that was on me. That wasn't
No,
anyone.
I know, but I don't think it's a coincidence that everybody looked so much different. And there was so much more leather. And
I know Katie's we talked about it. Katie's leather in this episode, like this is not desert attire.
That's also a very good point. Unless you're like, I need to break a sweat.
Overall, though, I did enjoy the episode and I enjoyed our guest. And
me too.
I think so. Great success.
Yeah. Agreed. Great success. And
except the fact that, we now have to, this is the last episode of the X-Files because I no longer have my Bible. So, sorry for everyone out there, but...
well, don't apologize to me. This is a relief. This comes as great news. Been dying to end this thing since day one. I gotta find a way out.
This is taking years off my life. Don't want any of this.
We'll see what the World Wide Web has as far as maybe buying another one.
Maybe.
All right, well, that was fun.
It was. And all right, well, time to sign off. I'd say we would talk later, but we've already established. Nope.
No reason to now.
No, just make that Christmas movie. Finger in a pear tree. Could you imagine?
By the way, that's the first moment that I've actually wanted to now thinking, like, oh, how do you make a movie called Finger in a Pear Tree work?
All right.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am on board.
There you go. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
The X-Files with Majandra Delfino
and Brendan Fehr is a production of Portholes Inc. Media.
Edited and mixed by Stephen Wells.
Theme music by Fred Corey.